Yeah, go ahead. Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. Everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance. Okay, for introduction of officers, Sharon is in Mexico, so that's why I'm up here. And Bruce is the secretary over at the table. Gordon is the treasurer at the other table. Steve is tech and membership. He is in the hospital. He fell, and so he's been in the hospital since yesterday. He's doing okay. I talked to him last night. Our at-large members, Bob Whalen, Dan Cook, Carol Taylor, Dick Two. Raise your hand again, Dick. And Jim Obanoff. And of course, for honorable mention, our very own donut wrangler, Dennis Abrams. Can't have a meeting without him. Yeah, exactly. Okay, our speaker today is Jody McCaw from Boulder Crest Foundation, Arizona. And I will let her basically introduce herself because I don't know too much about her.
Okay, can you guys hear me? Oh, this is nice. So yes, my name is Codi McCaw, and I'm from Boulder Crest Foundation. The best way for me to explain Boulder Crest is for us to just have a conversation. I'm going to give you guys a history of Boulder Crest, how we got started, why we exist, what we do, what our programs entail, and then we'll just open it for Q&A for you guys to ask any questions that you have. I have some statistics that I brought for those that might want a little more. But basically, Boulder Crest, I'm a native, Arizona native. I grew up in Sierra Vista, Fort Huachuca. I am a civilian, but I worked for the military my whole career until coming to Boulder Crest. I have an older sister who retired as a colonel from the U.S. Army. Her husband was a warrant officer, CW5. They had a big career. I have a little sister who's here at Davis-Monthan. Her husband is Air Force, so military has been in my life. I also helped raise my older sister's kids because in the Army, they don't care if you're dual military and have children, right? They said, well, you have family. So guess what? Your family can take care of your kids while you guys deploy. So anyway, I'm a military kid, regardless of being in it or not. And I came to Boulder Crest 7.5 years ago. I've been the executive director now for about 1.5 years with Boulder Crest. Boulder Crest is a national nonprofit. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. We operate across the nation. And we have multiple locations within the United States. We have partners that help us out as well. So how we got started, our founder, his name is Ken Falk. Ken Falk was a 28-year Navy EOD guy, right? He was out there doing all the hard stuff, bomb technician. He retired as a Master Chief right before 9/11 happened. When he retired, he and his wife moved to Bluemont, Virginia, and quickly 9/11 went down, and he got a call from Don Rumsfeld and said, we need help. Because of his expertise in the EOD world, he created a company overnight called AT Solutions, which is Anti-Terrorism Solutions. And they deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan to do everything they could to help. When things started to calm down, probably about 2007, 2008, he finally decided, okay, I'm done. I want to go home. I want to be away from all of this stuff and just go be retired. So him and his wife moved to Bluemont, Virginia, and they bought an estate called Boulder Crest. And quickly, because of his relationship within the EOD Foundation, or I'm sorry, within the EOD community, he created the EOD Warrior Foundation, which was a nonprofit just to help any of these soldiers that were coming home with physical injuries and financial help, whatever they could do to help these people. That turned into him and Julia, his wife, going to the hospitals, Walter Reed, just to sit with these soldiers who came back injured, losing arms and legs, all those disabilities that they had, and really couldn't have their family come visit, right? Couldn't afford to have their families come sit in the hospital with them for 6 months while they heal. So Julia and Ken would invite them to their house, and they would take these soldiers home with them and give them a place to be. They would pay for their families to come out and stay with them, whatever they could do to help these soldiers in their healing process. And this was a good, year-long thing they were a part of. They quickly realized that, active duty military veterans don't just come into your house and make themselves at home. And that's what they were trying to achieve. Like, come in, it's okay. You can go to the fridge and grab a beer, whatever, be here, enjoy the space. So they decided to donate 30 acres of their property and build some cabins so these families could have a place to come and heal. So they did that with a generous donation from the construction company that they contacted and said, hey, we're going to build these cabins and a lodge and all these things so that these veterans have a place to come and heal. And this contractor said, I'm going to do it for you. So that's really how we got started. This contract company said, nope, I believe in what you're doing. This is amazing. Let me just do it for you. So they built 4 cabins, a lodge with a kitchen and all that stuff, just for a place for veterans to come heal and active duty during whatever was going on in their life. Well, Ken had a name in the DC area. Everybody knew who he was. He was big in the EOD world. So all these different veteran organizations would contact him and say, hey, I heard you have this beautiful facility. Can we use it? We have programs and we'd love to come run our programs through your space. It'd be awesome to use your space. Okay, sure, why not? So for a while, all these organizations were running their programs using his facility. So some you probably heard of, right? DAV, Gary Sneeze Foundation, Wounded Warrior Project, all these organizations are coming in and using the space. And this was his home, right? So he's observing and he's watching and he's trying to learn, like, what are these programs that these people have? What are we doing for this community? And there was a lady there one night who was volunteering. She was getting the kitchen cleaned up for the end of the night. He went in to turn off lights and shut down the place. And she's in the kitchen and she's just crying. And he goes over and he's like, what's wrong? Are you okay? Can I do something for you? She says, this is amazing what all these programs are, but I sometimes wish that my husband would have lost an arm or a leg. And Ken's like, why would you say that? That is just terrible. And she says, because he has wounds you can't see. So Ken at that moment was like, I got to do something. He wanted to understand mental health. He wanted to understand, what are we doing? What are we doing wrong? How are we doing it? All the ins and outs about mental health, not just in military, but worldwide. Like, what is this, right? How do we understand mental health? So he went on a journey for about a year. And in his journey, he read a book from therapist Rich Tedeschi and Lawrence Calhoun that wrote about post-traumatic growth. And this book was very common sense to Ken. It was, okay, everybody struggles, right? It's inevitable. We're never not going to have problems in our life. But these people that they were studying were bereavement groups, right? These were grieving family members that had lost a child to cancer or a family member to a drunk driving accident or whatever it might be. And these families, these people were thriving. They were doing really great in life. They weren't stuck. They were doing something with what they learned from the pain, from the struggle, from the trauma. They were doing something good with it. So Ken reads this book and he's like, this just makes sense. This is what we do. We just don't recognize that we're doing it. Every one of you in this room has gone through something, right? And you've learned lessons from it and you've become better because of it. Not in spite of it, because of what you learned in the process of going through something hard, right? That's post-traumatic growth. So Ken talked to Rich and he says, have you ever taught this? It's obviously a process, right? And with this process becomes a result, which the military knows how to train. And he says, have you ever trained it? And he says, no. He says, do you want to? And Rich said, let's do it. So that's how we got started. Rich signed on with Boulder Crest and we created a curriculum. And that's basically what we do. We teach, we don't do therapy. We run training programs around post-traumatic growth. The idea that you can get through all of this, then you can get through anything, right? We teach how to regulate versus self-medicate, right? We teach people that coping is not a place you want to be. You don't want to just cope through life, right? Coping mechanisms, we've all done them: drinking, smoking, shopping, could be going to the gym or whatever it might be. Those are coping mechanisms, because when something bad happens, you go right back to that thing, right? What we're doing is teaching people to not cope. We want you to thrive in life. And that is what we feel is the cure to suicide. Is if you can teach people how to live a life that's worth living, that they're excited about, that they want to live, then they're not going to want to kill themselves, right? It's the unfortunate part about this community, not just this community, but the world, that this happens with people. So that's what we've been doing since 2013 is when we started. 2013, they started running post-traumatic growth programs in Virginia. And that was our first location. It's the first place that Ken established. And he didn't want to do this unless it was scalable. He didn't want to do this unless it was going to make an impact. Took some time. And it has been a huge impact in the 7 years that I've been here. When I started, we had 20 people on staff. We're trying to run as many programs as we could. And now we're almost at 100 staff, and we're teaching thousands and thousands of people a year, which is beautiful, right? So anyway, we bought Virginia, started with what we call our Rest and Reconnection program, which we do here in Arizona as well, is allowing combat veterans to come and stay on our facilities in our houses for 2 to 7 days a year for free. All you got to do is get there and bring food, and you can stay and reconnect with your family. That's the whole purpose of it. And then became Warrior Path. Warrior Path is the program, the main program that we teach. So Warrior Path is a 5-day on-site program. We do 10 to 12 participants at a time. So it's a very small group, intentionally. They're with us for an initiation period of Monday through Friday. After that Monday through Friday initiation into understanding what post-traumatic growth is and how to achieve it, then they go on to an 85-day course that they have to practice it, and they have to put it into play in their life, and they have to go home and have hard conversations. They have to, weed some people out of their lives that are bad influencers, and they have to put these wellness practices that we've taught them into their life and really change their whole life. So it's not a catch and release program. This is very much a lifelong journey to a commitment to growth. And that's what this is. So after the 85 days, which is the entire Warrior Path program, they're then connected with an entire network of people that have all gone through the program. It's very much like Facebook. We have our own. We have a Boulder Crest Facebook, where regionally, if you say you applied for the program, you came here to Arizona to come through the program, but you live in North Carolina. When you get back to North Carolina, you can get on this app that we have and find people from North Carolina that went through the program. So you can find people for support. So that's the Warrior Path program. The other things that we do, we have a couple other smaller programs. We have our couples program. We used to run big couples programs. We used to do a family program where we bring the families in with the kids. But this program is very individual based, right? The whole key to this program is individuality. Is you have to fix you before you can fix the other people in your life or help them to fix themselves, right? So we have a couples program where alumni, so if you've gone through the Warrior Path program, you can come back for a weekend, bring your spouse, your partner, whoever, show them where you came to Warrior Path, and you get to spend a weekend with songwriters. So we have an organization called Songwriting with Soldiers that we work with. They come out for a weekend, they hang out with these couples, and they learn about them. They talk about, where are you from? What'd you do in your life, your career, all these things. They have all these questions they ask, and the story comes about, right? And then they create music. So they write songs. I get to just spend some time together, and it's beautiful to watch. And then they, at the end of the weekend on a Sunday, they have a big concert, and everybody's written some songs, and it's amazing. And then we have our military teen retreat. So we actually have one coming up in July. We will be running our military teen retreat here in Arizona, July 10th, I think it's the weekend of July 10th, where we have either active duty, retired, doesn't matter, teenagers from the ages of 13 to 17 that will come and stay with us for the weekend. And we get to teach them post-traumatic growth through activities. So those are our basic programs, but we got Virginia. Now we have Arizona. We've been here in Arizona since 2018. So our ranch is located in Sonoyta. You guys know where Sonoyta is? Wine country. We have a beautiful historic ranch that we bought. It's called Apache Springs Ranch. It's been around Arizona for hundreds of years. One of the first white settlers to that area, his name was Thomas Gardner, and he came here during the 1800s, during the gold rush, and he homesteaded there. And the Indians didn't want him there, right? They would get up on it was all Apache land. They would get up on the ridges and shoot at him and try to steal his horses and his cattle, and it was a whole mess. And that was key to buying this property, is when we learned about this property, Ken's like, there was battles fought here. This is warrior land. This is where we need to be, right? So we have this ranch in Arizona. 2 years ago, we purchased a place in Texas, which is it's called Italy, Texas. It's about an hour from the DFW airport. And then just recently, this year, we acquired a ranch in Wyoming that was donated to us by another Navy retiree. He and his wife bought this 200-acre ranch in Wyoming about 30 years ago after he retired. And he raised llamas. So now we're in the llama business that we didn't really want to be in, but we're doing it. And he gave us this place. He has a son, him and his son. His wife just passed in last August. He also has terminal cancer and is not going to live very much longer. And he wanted his place to go to something meaningful. And it's kind of an interesting story, but he emailed Fox News and said, I got this place and I want it to go to veterans. I have this 200-acre llama ranch and I want the llamas to continue, right? I guess in the llama world, he's the national known guy to raise llamas. So he says, I want my legacy to continue, but I want this place to go to veterans. So somebody from Fox News knew who Boulder Crest was and reached out. So Ken went out and met Al, is his name, and they immediately just fell in love with each other. Al was also in the Navy, and we told him about what we do, and he says, okay, this is yours. So we're getting started in Wyoming. So Boulder Crest will now have 4 locations. So Virginia, Arizona, Texas, Wyoming. And then, like I said, when we started this, we wanted it to be scalable. We wanted to reach as many people as we could. So we have partners that also teach our Warrior Path program across the nation. So we have five or six other partners that are established nonprofits just like us that teach our programs for us. So we provide the curriculum, we help get them trained and get staffing and all that stuff, and then they go and they teach programs as well. Lastly, our other very large program that we never really wanted to do, it just kind of happened, is during COVID, our first responders were hurting pretty bad. So we actually piloted a program within Miami-Dade Police Department, very similar to Warrior Path, but we kind of changed the wording from veteran to first responder. And that just blew up. And it was like, wow, these first responders really need this help as well. That pilot went beautifully. Next thing you know, we've got Tucson Police Department. So Tucson Police Department has, gosh, how many employees do they have? 2,000 staff members. And this is not just sworn officers. This is anybody that works at Tucson Police Department has been trained in post-traumatic growth. Chief Kazmar, if you guys follow the news, he just retired. Monica has now taken over, but Chief was like, this is amazing. I want everybody to know how to struggle well. So we created the Struggle Well program, and Struggle Well is for first responders, and that is an in-agency program. So we go into the agencies and help them change culture and teach post-traumatic growth so that as they're in this very stressful life, right, this job that they've signed up for, much like all of you guys have been, they know how to handle it. They know how to handle it healthy. They know how to have conversations when they need to. They know how to help each other and really get back to a long time ago, before my time, peer-to-peer support. That's what matters, right? If you think 100 years ago, mental health professionals didn't exist. How do we take care of ourselves? Each other, right? Neighbors would help each other, communities would help each other, brothers and sisters and family members would take care of each other. If you had a hard day, you'd sit down and have a conversation with your family and work through it. And then we got away from that. And now the normal conversation is, hey, I've had a hard day. And I come up to you and I said, I'm going through all this terrible stuff. I've had a hard day. And you tell me, oh, sounds like you need to go talk to someone, right? And we send them to therapy. Instead of just sharing, instead of just opening up and talking about the hard things that we've been through. Because when you do that, there's so much commonality in all the things that everybody's gone through, right? We think we're alone. We think, oh no, nobody's had it worse than I have. Nobody's gone through what I've gone through, right? Excuse my language, but bullshit, right? We've all been through hard things. And if you don't talk about those hard things, and I'm just going to tell you real quick, the process of post-traumatic growth, because I know you guys have all done this. I made myself some notes. So the process of post-traumatic growth is, number one, to educate. You have to be curious. You have to ask questions. You got to understand the world, yourself, other people in the world, right? You got to research and study and read. If something's going on with you and you're not willing to share with somebody else to figure out, go read. The next is regulate. Learning how to regulate healthy meditation, reading, breathing techniques. There's tons of beautiful regulation practices. I've seen all this artwork all over this property. It's beautiful. Art, it's a regulation practice, right? Rather than drinking or doing something terrible, get it out on paper. Journaling, gratitude is probably the number one, well, it's the number two. The number one key to joy and satisfaction in life, which has been studied. It's called the Gluck study. It's been studied for almost 100 years, is connection with others. That's where joy and satisfaction comes from, is connecting with each other. The second is gratitude. Thinking about how grateful you really are in life There's so much to be grateful for. Not just the little things like a nice cup of coffee and a donut, but gratitude for the large things. Grateful that you went through terrible things because I got to learn from it. I got to have that experience that I can then share with others, right? So, regulation. The next is disclosure. We at Boulder Crest, we talk about our life. We talk about our stories. We share the hard stuff. All of the yucky, terrible things that we've gone to, we share it. And it's important. If you don't share it, it sits in here, right? You got to get it out. You got to talk about it. Brene Brown, she's an author. Some of you may know her, but she studied shame. And she says that shame cannot survive being spoken. Once you speak something out and you share something out, it no longer has a burden in you, right? So disclosure, tell your story. People want to hear. It's cool. Whether you think it's not or, it's amazing to hear what you guys have gone through, and you can share with people that are younger with you, share with your comrades. Story. We talked about disclosure, saying all the hard stuff, and then going back and sharing it with other people. Share your stories. And then service, giving back, going out and serving. Every one of you signed up in the military because you wanted to serve, right? Continue to serve, whether it's picking up the newspaper and giving it to your neighbor in the morning as you're walking down the sidewalk, whatever it might be, just serve. Service is a key part to having a healthy life. And if you do all these things, right, then all this great comes out of certain areas in your life. One, personal strength. You realize that you really can get through a lot, right? You do have the personal strength to continue. If I've been through that, I can get through anything. Deeper relationships. You start to disclose. You start to create better relationships with people, better connections with others. Appreciation for life. You start to appreciate all the things that you've gone through. You start to look at them differently and have gratitude for them rather than resentment or hate for what you went through, right? You start to be grateful for that. Man, if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't be where I am right now, right? Spiritual and existential change. There may be moments as you start to disclose, start to talk to things that your core beliefs might get broke, right? You go through life and you have this system that you've agreed upon, right? All your training and experiences through life that you like, this is how things are supposed to be. And then something happens and that gets shattered. Well, why? Figure it out, educate, talk, share with people, right? So you start to have all these beautiful things start to happen in your life as you work through post-traumatic growth. So all that, I want to let you guys ask questions if you have any. But really what we're doing is we're training people to live great lives. We want you to thrive. We don't want you to cope. And real quick before questions, how we do what we do. Yes, sir.
What is your relationship with the VA healthcare system?
So good question. The VA, gotta love them, right? They do have a place and they do great work. We have a grant right now with the VA. So we've been working with the VA. We're going on our 4th year that the VA has helped fund some of our programs. So it's difficult for them. Mental health, there's certain, we call them modalities that they can work underneath, right? Our founder, Ken Falk, went to Congress and had written into legislation that post-traumatic growth is a thing. So now the VA has to recognize that post-traumatic growth exists and that there are other modalities besides just therapy and medicines. So yes, we work with the VA. We're on a 4-year contract right now with the VA. And it's been good. Working for the government is difficult. They want to try to change things and own it. But we're not letting them. We're doing our thing and it's been beautiful. So yeah.
I have a question for you. I've been in mental health for the last 50 some years, dealing individually with people in trauma. And it's been amazing to see over the decades how those in mental health and other kinds of resources have become much more focused in the kinds of programs that they're able to provide. We did all kinds of debriefings and developed peer supports and all those kinds of things. My question for you is, how do you identify those who are about to drop out of the 5-day program or the 85-day program? What do you do for those who have dropped out or are thinking about dropping out?
So, great question. Nobody is ever rejected. Okay. If you, number one, we're not clinical, so we can't handle substance abuse, things like that. So, number one, they fill out an application. When they apply, they go through an extensive interview process with our instructors, and the instructors get to know them, ask some hard questions. How are you doing? Are you sober? All those things, and really see where they are at mentally, not by a scale, but conversation. Are you ready to do this? Because this is hard work, right? You're going to come here and you're going to really have to get deep into yourself. Are you ready to do it? And we're going to walk beside you as you do it. We have some that aren't ready, right? And they say, you know what? I don't think I'm ready for this. Okay, cool. Call us when you're ready. You know, so we don't just drop them off. We have had just recently, we just had a program a couple weeks ago, and the second day in, one of the guys left. And it was beautiful because he recognized in himself, he wasn't ready to do this. He wasn't ready to open up. He wasn't ready to put in the hard work. He still wanted to be in kind of a victim mode state. But he was super polite. He wrote handwritten letters to all the gentlemen that came with him and apologized and said, I wish you guys the best. I'm just not ready to do this for myself. I'll be back. Right. So to answer the question, really, nobody gets dropped off. If they leave, it's on their own. Or if they, unfortunately, it does happen, right? People do have substance use problems and tell us that they don't. And then they come and they start experiencing detox and stuff like that. So we get them straight to the VA and get them the help that they need in hopes that they'll get clean and come back. And then we have tons of resources, other veteran organizations. We have partners with TBI institutes, substance abuse organizations that we refer people to if we can't take them. Yes, sir.
How big is your organization? You mentioned 100 and some people. How big is your budget and what are the sources of your funding?
I was going to get to that. So when I first started 7.5 years ago, that's when we just got Arizona, right? Our budget for Arizona, including programs, taking care of the ranch, employees, salary, all the things, is 1.5 million just for the Arizona ranch. And that's about, we try to keep the same with all the locations, try to keep it as low as possible. Excuse me. But we are funded in multiple ways. One, we have the VA grant, but that doesn't, all that funds is the program cost, right? But when it comes to facilities and all the other things, we have a huge philanthropy part of our organization, and they're raising money every day. They're going out and they're doing events. They're reaching out for donors. We're finally at a place where we're trying to get to the lower edge of donors. That makes sense because from the beginning, we had huge donors. I mean, these were over $1 million donors helping us. The Clark Foundation that built Virginia, that was $10 million donation. These guys came in and built a $10 million facility for free, right? So partners with major donors, people that have a lot of money, trusts, family, organizations that wanted to leave their money to something good. We've had multiple, which has been a huge blessing. But we're getting to the point now where we recognize, okay, we got to step it up because these bigger donors are going to start to go away, right? With that money, will be exhausted. And now we need to go out and do outreach and raise our own money. So this year, we will be 20 million is what it takes to operate. And that's how much money we have to raise through donors and stewardship and all those things.
What is the cost to people using your program?
The cost to us?
No. What do the people pay?
Nothing. Everything we do is free. Yes, everything we do is completely free to the participants, to the veterans, completely free. So Warrior Path costs nothing. We pay for their travel, we pay for their food while we're there. We have a chef that cooks while they're there. We have housing for them to stay in. We pay for all of it. Yeah, all of it's free. The only cost is the Rest and Reconnection program, right? Coming out to the ranch and staying in one of the homes. The only cost to you would be gas to get there and food. Otherwise, nothing costs. The first responder agencies, we used to do it for free. But through research and like learning about how first responder agencies work, we realized that there's state money that none of them know how to get. So we helped them. We helped them figure it out, how to get money for the state. The state leaves money set aside for these agencies for mental health, for wellness. But of course, they're not going to say, hey, it's over here, come get it. Right. So we've helped them find that money. And then they just give us some kickback for materials, you know, printing all the booklets and stuff that they use in class. They'll pay for us to come from Sierra Vista to Tucson, you know, gas, food for the participants in the course, but it's not a huge moneymaker for us at all.
I have a question. Talk to me about the follow-up and what sort of documentation do you have on people who've gone through your program and how successful has it been and how many are you seeing back again?
So we don't have repeats, which is beautiful. We have about a 98% success rate once people have gone through the program. People are naturally going to drop off after the 90 days, right? Because now they just achieve post-traumatic growth in their life and they don't need to be connected so much. But they never have to leave, right? That's on their own. That's if they want to. If they want to drop off and not be a part of Boulder Crest anymore and get off the app and not have that connection, that's fine. That's up to them. But we study, this is backed by science. Rich Tedeschi, our therapist, they study this stuff all the time. We collect so much data on these programs. The best way, I should have brought some slides for you guys, but if you get on our website, bouldercrest.org, and go to finances and reporting, you can see all of our studies, all the data on everything that we collect. We're continually gathering information and studying how this works. But just some quick numbers for you to answer this question a little bit better. So for 2005, so Warrior Path, which is mostly veterans, sometimes first responders if they were dual. So if you're a first responder and military both, then you can come through Warrior Path. We served 1,213 people in 2025, and they had a 58% reduction in symptoms, which is PTSD symptoms, and a 65% growth, which it's hard to explain. It's better to explain on the website. It's called our PTGI scores. Have you heard of PTGI? Yeah, Post-Traumatic Growth Index. And with these surveys that we collect, it basically tells them in the areas of deeper relationships, gratitude, all those things, how better are they after the 90 days? Have they decreased or have they increased? Suicide ideality drops big time, right? Since inception in 2013, with thousands of people taught, we've lost 3 people to suicide, which I think is pretty dang good, right? We're teaching thousands and we've only lost 3. So Warrior Path, 1,200 veterans taught. For the Struggle Well program, which is our first responder community, we taught 16,024 people last year. In 2025. That's 40% increase in growth from that 11,000 people. It's a lot. And then the R&R program, which is the Rest and Reconnection program to come and stay. Last year, we served 1,163 family members. Since 2013, we've served 11,274 family members in the R&R program. And that's just 2 locations. That's just Virginia and Arizona. hopefully with Wyoming, that'll pick up and we'll get to have some more families to take care of. Anything else? Okay. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate all you do. I've left brochures. I'll leave my business cards here with Mr. Bruce. If anybody has any follow-up questions, feel free to email me. And come see us. Come down and stay in one of the houses. The R&R program, just so you know, it books 4 months out. So at the end of June or the end of May, we just opened books for September. So at the end of this month, we'll open up for October stays. It's just like an Airbnb. We just don't charge anything. So you go on our website, book a house, and come out and see the place. It's beautiful.
Okay, next up is the Fallen Veterans Program. And we have no fallen veterans, but Bob has some things he wants to say.
Yeah, thankfully, we don't have any fallen veterans to honor at this meeting, but some information, the internment for Joe Shambo will take place on June 30th at 10 a.m. at the Veterans Cemetery. That's on Joe Shambo. Richard Cullum, known as Charlie, passed away recently, and he will be honored also at our July meeting. Be laid to rest June 5th in Marana, and that's when they'll have a celebration for his falling. But I wanted to take just a moment to read something to you. And I want you to be thinking about fallen veterans from the past as I read this. Soldiers, sailors, and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force, you are about to embark upon the great crusade toward which we have striven these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you. In company with our brave allies and brothers in arms on other fronts, you will bring about the destruction of the German war machine and the elimination of Nazi tyranny over the oppressed people of Europe and security for ourselves in a free world. Your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well trained, well equipped, and battle hardened. He will fight savagely. But this is the year 1944. Much has happened since the Nazi triumphs of 1940 and 41. The United Nations have inflicted upon the Germans great defeats in open battle, man to man. Our air offensive has seriously reduced their strength in the air and their capacity to wage war on the ground. Our home fronts have given us an overwhelming superiority in weapons and munitions of war and placed at our disposal great reserves of trained fighting men. The tide has turned. The free men of the world are marching together in victory, to victory. I have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than full victory. Good luck, and let us all beseech the blessings of Almighty God upon this great and noble undertaking. Signed, Dwight David Eisenhower. I just want you to be thinking about that. Will, you may have some memory of that. But anyway, I just wanted to be thinking about some of the World War II vets that, from your own memory, that we can recall at this time.
Thank you, Bob. And now it is Gordon's turn.
Morning, everybody. I just wanted to, the first thing I wanted to say was our program has our guest speaker down as Jody, but I really think it's Cody. Am I right? So I just wanted to make sure everybody knew what her first name really was if you were looking at the program. Secondly, I did talk to Steve this morning from the hospital, and this was one of those episodes we all know. Getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to use the restroom, left the lights out and fell. And woke up with his head on the toilet and a bloody lip. And Steve had a heart attack a month ago and has a pacemaker from before. So, and he's on blood thinners. So hitting your head was a reason to take a trip to the ER, and fortunately they found him to not have a brain bleed. They're not really sure why he passed out, but he has a tremendous UTI, he told me. So I guess they're going to treat him for that and send him on his way, but he's well, as can be expected. Okay. Yeah, urinary tract UTI. The treasurer's report is for April 1st to the end of the month. We opened with a balance of $6,536.91. On the 6th, I made a deposit of $680, and $80 was from the tin can. $600 was a 500 donation from Malcolm Potter and Christine Schaefer, for Malcolm Potter, excuse me. $100 memberships were Joe and Shirley Anderson, Mary Durand, and Mike Camarese. Maybe I can't read my writing. On the 9th, I made a $1,000 deposit, which was from the Walter team for 2 homes they sold. Tim, okay. On the 14th, I made a deposit of $250, and that was from bingo donations. And Terry Sherlin donated $20. Lucky Steve, back in the corner, donated $45 from one win and $80 from the other win. So thank you, Steve. Kathy Schreiber, $10. Richard Leibarger, $25. Connie Rio, $15. Kay Kaufman, $5. And Vicki Warren, $50. So bingo's turning into a good source of revenue. On the 30th, I made a deposit of $100, and that was for 2 $50 checks, one from my family and one from Joe and Shirley Anderson's family in memory of Joe Shamba. Expenses on the 6th, Dennis Abrams for donuts, $75.32. A $300 donation to the Veterans Rescue Mission. And $1,000 to the DAV, Chapter 4. Hope you get the check good. Patriots Pantry, $1,000, and $1,400 to the Sportsman's Fund. Ending balance, $4,791.59. And I guess I've been the treasurer here for, I don't know, forever, it feels like in my mind. But our banking account here is called a silver banking account. There's a gold level at US Bank. And I was charged $2.80 this month for too much cash depositing. And I said to him, "You're kidding me." And there's a certain amount of cash you're allowed to put in, or they have this huge program that divides cash into units, and we had $2.80 worth of a charge, and I said, stop. And they refunded it back, but it was just, I don't know. So that's everything current. Questions? Thank you.
And since he gave it away, okay, new business. And you can all read this on your table as well. But we're looking for veterans to interview. Tim records the interviews, and Sharon or Tom or someone will actually interview you to get your story. They get it all on tape or on video. And excuse me. And then they write it up, and you have that Tim gives you a thumb drive with that video on it. So we're looking for people that want to tell their stories. And like Cody said, everybody wants to hear your story. I know most people, I was the same way. Most people don't think their story is that interesting and that important, or what you did in the service wasn't that important, but it all is. It's all important. And it's good that people tell their stories. So if you want to do that, let one of the board members know, let Tim know, and we will schedule that so we can get your story told. Also, you'll be one of the honored vets on our website. And if you want to read their stories, I don't remember how many we have now, but there's quite a few stories on the website now. So if you go there and you go under honor, go there, you can scroll down and you can find everybody that we've got their stories. It's all there. So you can look at that and read people's stories. Under new business, we still have challenge coins. Gordon's always got them over there in front of him. And I noticed that several people paid their dues. You can still pay your dues for this year. It doesn't matter what time of the year it is, you can still pay your dues. Are there any new or returning attendees? David wants to say something.
I'm talking as a service officer for Chapter 4. Since we had a disability, PTSD comes in 10%, 30%, 50%, 70%, and 100%. So just to let you know that it's not just one thing, it's several. And to get PTSD, you must see a psychiatrist. If you don't see a psychiatrist, you're not going to get nothing. The reason the psychiatrist, because he's been trained to know what PTSD is. So if you want to go, it's 10%, 30%, 50%, 70, and 100. And we're right behind the Bisbee Breakfast Cafe on Nina Road. And thank you for the $1,000 donation. We're gonna put it to good use. Thank you.
Okay, and just a reminder as well on the dues, they're all voluntary. Nobody here is required to pay dues. We don't want people not coming to meetings because they can't afford to pay dues. Let's see. Oh, also on this Friday, June the 5th, Charlie Collins is going to be laid to rest out at the cemetery, like Bob said. Also, there will be a celebration of life here afterwards. So you're all invited to that. Okay, for the good of the cause, I think we basically covered that already, unless somebody has something else. What's that? Friday, he'll be laid to rest at 10 a.m. and the celebration of life is right after here. So however long it takes to get from the cemetery to here. He's coming.
So Gordon contacted me yesterday with regards to some people asking about whether this meeting was going to be a meeting where there'd be somebody to address spouses of veterans and fallen veterans and their benefits that they have coming to them. It's something I'm really working on, and it's had a lot of bumps along the way. The first person that was supposed to be here got sick and was hospitalized, and then contacted me the next month and said he would do it for this month. But I didn't hear from him in the first week. And I spoke to Monica down at the VA, and she gave me somebody's number that was anxious to do it, but I don't know how anxious she was. She never called me back or anything. And then finally I met Jody, and she came here to speak. I'm still looking for somebody. Eventually I'll find somebody, and we'll get all your spouses in here, and we're going to get this done. But it's just taking some doing. Thank you for the patience. Bye-bye.
Anything else? One other thing that I have is as far as, because we've had several people pass away recently, and I've been asked questions because I am on the Cemetery Foundation Board. How do you get a spouse buried out there at the cemetery? The easiest way to do that, and the simplest way, is make sure that you have a copy of the discharge papers, the DD-214 or other discharge papers, because Coast Guard I know is a little bit different. So you have those, you take them to the mortuary who's dealing with the body, whether you're, however you're being laid to rest, whether it's cremation or burial. You take it to the mortuary, they will handle it all for you. Almost every mortuary here in town will do that for you. I don't know of any that don't. So that's the simplest way to do it. The other thing you can do is you can pre-register. They have a form, it's on the cemetery's website, that you can pre-register to be buried out there. And basically what that says is that you've already shown your DD-214 and you are eligible to be buried out at the cemetery. So those are some of the things that come up, that have come up recently, just because we've had the passing of several veterans recently. So go ahead, Gordon. And there's lots of choices. I did it for my father-in-law. There's a lot of choices. So, right. Right. That part of it, you or a family member is going to want to take care of. But yeah, you can do that all ahead of time. No. He didn't want to talk anyway. Anyone else? Let me get you a mic.
For what it's worth, I just bought something called the Knox, K-N-O-X, house locks box. And it basically, you go to the fire department and it is a small, heavy box that they'll direct you to a website, Knox Home Locks box, and you mount it on the wall yourself, leave it open, call the fire department. They will come and put your house key in it. They have a master. So what this does is if you cannot get up to let the fire department or paramedics in, there's a key hanging on the outside of your house that allows them to come in, only them. It does not work for the police department. It's only for fire and rescue. And today came and put my key in my box today.
Gordon, I can add to that because we have one of the Knox boxes. And if people go to a hardware store and buy a box and put their key in it, the fire department cannot open that box. It has to be a Knox lock box. And the fire department has a key for that box only. Once it's closed, the fire department is the only one who can open it.
Anything else? Okay, our next meeting is July 1st. So we'll be doing that before we put out flags on the 4th of July. So we'll be looking for volunteers for that. Thank you.